Hey guys, in this video we're going to take a look at a brand new product from a company called AllPowers. Now AllPowers is probably best known for their line of portable solar panels, and I've done a video on that. I'll put a link up there if you want to go check one of those out. But they make pretty good quality, low-priced portable solar panels. So this is their S2000, as I mentioned. It is a 2,000 watt inverter, 4,000 watt peak inverter, 2,000 watt continuous, but it is a 1,500 watt hour capacity. Rated capacity. So that puts it kind of in the upper middle, I would say, capacity class for power stations. But there's another thing that they sent me that's brand new from them. It is, I don't know if I can get it. Let me see. Oh my God, it's right here. This is a 400 watt portable solar panel. You heard me right, 400 watt portable solar panel. It's basically a giant version of their 100 and 200 watt versions. Oh, and it is a monster. I haven't used it yet, but we're going to check it out. Let's find out if all this stuff is worth your look. All right, per usual, we got to get this thing out of the box, so let's do that. All right, it's got the warranty card and manual, and actually a really nice little package here. This thing appears to be very well packed. And it comes with a cable bag, it seems. Either that or this is a cover for the whole unit. Maybe it's a cover for the whole unit. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of a condensation cover or a rain cover. So that's nice. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, here's the cable bag. So we got an AC cable, computer AC style cable here. That tells me that there's apparently no power brick, so it's got an integrated AC adapter. That's cool. All right, so here we got a car charger with an XT60 connector on it, and they do give you a set of MC4 cables, or one MC4 cables, with, again, an XT60 connector on it. So, pretty sure that we can bet that 400 watt solar panel has MC4 connectors on it. And I actually like that. I think I prefer MC4 over to the other style. It's just much easier to string things in series if you want to. So, this is actually a little lighter than I was expecting. Probably because I've been dealing with some of those plus 2,000 watt plus beasts lately. But actually this is really nice. All right, just first impression is that this is kind of built like a tank. The AC cable connector is in the back, so that does confirm that there is no AC charge brick. So rather than try to get into the details when I haven't really had a chance to work with it yet, let's jump forward in time where I get to do some testing on this thing, find out what its usable capacity is, how well that inverter actually supports various devices, and what we can use it for. And then, very importantly, I want to find out about that 400 watt portable solar panel and how well it performs and how well it's suited for something like this. So let's jump forward in time and see how that goes. And we're back. All right. Now it hasn't been a full month. It's only actually been a couple of weeks that I've had the S2000 and the 400 watt panel right over my left shoulder there. But let's jump into the specs and kind of run through those, and then we'll talk about the testing. So you can buy the S2000 on Amazon as well as the 400 watt solar panel. The S2000 normally costs $9.99. I think they have Black Friday deals going on right now. In fact, there's a bundle, and there'll be a link in the description below, where you can get both the S2000 and the 400 watt solar panel for $14.25. Now, I don't know how long that pricing is going to be valid, so you're going to want to check that out very quickly. But if you can get that $14.25 bundle price, that's like getting a 1,500 watt power station for like $8.75, which is a fantastic deal. Now the AllPowers 400 watt solar panel normally sells for $6.99, but they do have a $150 off coupon if you buy it separately that you can apply, and that brings the price down to like $5.50, which again is about half the price that you would see on other sort of competing 400 watt portable solar panels. And there aren't very many options in the 400 watt portable solar panel space. There's only a handful, but the other ones that I've seen have been upwards of more than $1,000. So maybe you want to check that out as well. All right, both the S2000 and the 400 watt panel have a 2-year warranty from AllPowers. The S2000 itself weighs about 32 pounds, which is relatively light for a 1500 watt solar panel, I felt like. And the 400 watt solar panel is actually quite a bit heavier than the power station itself. That weighs 41 pounds, I think. It's a bit of a beast, but it's got a really nice heavy-duty handle on it, and it's totally manageable to move that around. In fact, I find it preferable to moving around multiple 100 or 200 watt panels. So I'm really kind of digging this 400 watt panel. Now, the battery chemistry on the S2000 is lithium NMC, which again is the same as what the Jackeries use. It's rated to maintain about 80% of its original capacity after about 1,000 full cycles. So depending on how you use it, again, that's 1,000 full charge-discharge cycles. I think where lithium NMC makes sense is if you're not doing a full charge-discharge every day. If you are doing a full charge every day, then I would steer you towards something like lithium iron phosphate chemistry. But lithium NMC is a little bit lighter because it's more energy dense for the same amount of weight of battery, but it does have a lower cycle count. But again, most people aren't using these things in full charge-discharge cycles every single day. And if that's the case, I don't think lithium NMC is really a bad choice. Now, the AC inverter is rated for 2,000 watts continuous and 4,000 watts peak, and we're going to get into some testing of that in just a minute. Now, from a charging standpoint, you can obviously charge this via AC or via solar. Via AC, it comes with a 400 watt adapter, but you'll typically get somewhere around 360 to 380 watts input from that AC adapter. And if you are charging via solar, you can go up to 500 watts of solar input through the XT60 connector here in the front. And the input specs on that XT60 connector via solar are 18 to 70 volts max, so a maximum of 70 volts input. That's the important one. And then also 18 amps max. So pretty decent usable DC input max on this S2000. Now, AllPowers does have app control for the S2000, so we're going to take a look at that in a little bit. Now let's talk about the 400 watt portable solar panel from AllPowers. It is a polycrystalline design, not a monocrystalline, so it's a little bit bigger for the output. But I still think it's very manageable. And it does have that durable Etfe coating on it. And this one is a smooth coating rather than that pebbled coating, which actually makes it a little bit easier to keep clean. Now, its dimensions folded up, it's about 41 inches high. It's just under 24 inches wide, and it's about 4.5 inches thick when it's folded up. Now, when you unfold this thing, it's still 41 inches tall, but it's nearly 9 feet long. It's like 8 3/4 feet long. So it's a beast. Now, on a solar panel, you typically want to know the volts open circuit and also the current short circuit. So the VOC, or the volts open circuit, on this panel is 45.3 volts, and the ISC rating, or the short circuit current rating, on this is 11.45 amps. All right, now let's get into some testing. I did have a pretty rare, nice, mild, sunny day here in late November, and I had a chance to get out and test the S2000 with the 400 watt panel. So let's see how that went. All right, as you can see, this 400 watt solar panel has 5 individual panels here, and it does have 5 individual legs. It's a little bit of a wrestling match getting this thing up and deployed, but the cool thing is I'm only going to have to, if I have to reposition this, I've only got one panel to reposition. That's 400 watts. Whereas if I were doing, multiple 100 watt panels, I'd have to go around and move each one of them. So I kind of like this. This is massive. You could actually sleep under here. That's how big this is. I'm gonna move the S2000 a little closer. Now, I did want to show you the solar panel itself also comes with MC4 to XT60, and then it comes with MC4 to DC5521, and then it's got an 8mm barrel adapter to fit with most of your Jackery type products. So that does come with that as well. So they've got you covered for the most type of connectors you're probably going to need. Only one that's not in the kit is an aviation style, but if you need that, then you can buy that adapter cable if you need to, because MC4 is so common. So let's go ahead and hook this thing up. All right, MC4, you really can't go wrong. You just connect the compatible adapters, and these are weatherproof adapters, by the way. Or MC4 cables in general, these connectors are waterproof connectors. All right, let's go ahead and plug in the XT60 and just see what we start getting here. Now, the S2000 does have an MPPT charge controller. You can hear the fans. I have to say the fans are a little on the loud side compared to some power stations. It's about 68 dB when I'm not talking. 341 watts out of a 400 watt panel at about 10:30 in the morning in early winter. That's not bad at all. That is really not bad. I was not expecting we get anything over 300 actually this time of year. So as you saw, I was getting really fantastic output from this 400 watt solar panel. I was regularly getting 350 watts out of 400 on this thing, and consistently well over 300, which is really outstanding for something this late in November when the sky or when the sun is a little bit lower in the sky than it is, you know, in the summer months. But that kind of output means that I can charge this S2000 from 0 to 100% with that 400 watt solar panel in just about 4 to 5 hours max. And that's under decent sky conditions, of course. But that really makes this solar panel an excellent pairing with the S2000. Even though this can handle up to 500 watts, just that 400 watt panel by itself really does the trick. Now, the first time I set up this 400 watt solar panel, it was admittedly a bit of a wrestling match, but that was before I really thought it through and realized there's actually a much easier way to set up and tear down this solar panel. So I went ahead and redid that and timed it. So let's see how that went. So you can see that really was not a big deal. I could set it up and tear it down in basically a minute total, which is really fantastic for a solar panel that size. Try doing that with 4 100 watt solar panels. Good luck. By the way, if you're finding any of this information useful, I'd really appreciate the thumbs up on the video. That really does help with the YouTube algorithm. And back to the review. So the S2000 has a rated battery capacity of 1500 watt hours, but as we know, that's not typically what we're able to get out of these power stations. So let's go run some DC and AC discharge tests to find out what our usable capacity is under both of those circumstances. And let's go see how that went. All right, now that we got this thing all topped off using that 400 watt monster solar panel, we're at 100%. I'm going to do a DC discharge test using my battery tester. Now the manual says this is a 13 volt, 10 amp, 12 volt port. There we go. Okay. So we're going to find out. Okay, pretty secure 12 volt connector. Need to turn the DC on. There we go. And let's see what happens if we dial this past. We're reading 12.8 volts now, which is like textbook conditions. Let's see if we can keep it above 12 volts to make sure that it's regulated. Good for running 12 volt fridges and things like that. I'm going to see what happens if we just start tipping this thing over the 10 amp and see if it shuts me off. 12 amps. Well, it hasn't cut me off. There it goes. Okay, 12 amps. Definitely doesn't like 12 amps. So let's dial this back down. And we will reset this. Alright, DC's back on. Alright, let's put this right at that 10 amp mark. Alright, 10 amps. Let's let this run. We'll find out how many watt hours we're able to pull out of this 1500 watt hour power station from AllPowers. Alright, the DC discharge test is complete. And let's see, we are at 1253 watt hours. Let's charge up this thing, find out how long it takes to recharge, and then we'll do an AC discharge test and see what kind of number we get there. So we got 1,235 watt hours off the DC discharge. That's good for about 84% of rated capacity, which puts it right in the middle, I would say the average usable capacity of power stations that I've tested. So in terms of the AC charge times that I mentioned in that last clip, the 400 watt AC adapter that it comes with, depending on your input source, where you're plugging it into, you're going to get somewhere between 360 to 380 watts into the S2000 from that AC adapter. And that's going to equate to just about 4 hours of charge time via AC. But let's jump back in and see how the S2000 did on the AC discharge test. Let's go ahead and power up the AC inverter. All right. I will say that fan is just a little bit on the noisy side compared to some power stations. At 100%, we are connected to my watt meter. I'm going to let that run in medium mode, which will get me to 600 watts. And we'll check back when it's done and see how many electrons we caught. All right, the AC discharge test has completed. This shows 5%, and the unit has cut us off. All right, we got 1,184 watt hours usable out of the S2000. So as you saw, we got 1,184 watt hours, which is about 79%, I think, of the rated capacity of 1,500 watts. And that's a little bit on the low end of what we normally see through the AC inverter on these power stations. But keep in mind that it was reserving 5%, as you saw on the screen there, after the discharge test off the AC. So the BMS does, when you're discharging via AC, keep that last 5% kind of reserved for internal use. Now, I also tested the AC inverter to find out if it could live up to its 2,000 watt continuous rating. And then I also kind of wanted to find out what its breaking point was. So let's take a look at how that test went. All right, we seem to have capped out at about 1148 watts draw from the space heater. Let's go ahead and turn on the heat gun and see what happens. All right, no trouble there. Let's go ahead and kick it up to high. It should push us over 2,000. Let's see how long it'll let us run.
2 hours later.
All right, so this thing pulled 2,200 watts and then some for 5 minutes straight, and the unit did not shut down. The inverter definitely supports 2,000 watts. In fact, it supports about 20% more than that at least. All right, let's see if we can trip this thing, find out where its cutoff is. Ah, so we were right on the edge. So we were at 2,200 watts, and then I attempted to add. All right, so that would have put us at 2,500 watts, maybe 2,550, and that definitely tripped us. So somewhere between 2,250 and 2,550, definitely a hard cutoff, and this thing will finally trip. So the AC inverter does perform extremely well. For being a 2,000 watt continuous rated inverter, it typically allows you to get away with upwards of 20% more than that for an extended period of time before it finally cuts you off. So that's very good performance from the AC inverter. Now, as I mentioned, AllPowers does actually have an app for their power stations, and that app is available on both Android and iOS. It looks the same on both platforms as far as I can tell, but let's take a look at the Android version and see what you get with the app. All right, I have pressed the Bluetooth button on the S2000 for 3 seconds, and it has activated the Bluetooth, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find it here. Next step. There we go. All right. And that matches what I'm seeing. It just hit 100, actually, while I was connecting. Still shows we're getting 343 watts from that 400 watt portable solar panel, which is super cool. Really, the only functionality we have here is to be able to monitor the input and output and activate and deactivate the AC and DC ports. Basically the same controls you have on the front of the unit. I'm not sure you really need any more than that unless they were to add some trending. Not an option here, so not a big deal. Really, this is all I need to do with the app. Now to wrap up with some final observations I had during testing from a no load draw standpoint, where I just let the AC inverter run with no actual load on it. What I observed was about a 1.9% capacity reduction every hour that the AC inverter remains on, even if you're not pulling anything out of it. So that's a little bit high. I think 1 to 1.5% is a little more average. So that's a little bit high on the no load draw, but not by much. Probably the more important thing to know is that even after 8 hours, the AC inverter had not turned off automatically. So you do have to remember to turn it off if you're not using it. But that also works to your advantage if you have a very low watt or intermittent power draw type device that you want to be able to maintain access to being powered without having the unit shut off unexpectedly after some period of time. It does not appear that the S2000 will do that. So you can actually run those kinds of devices on the S2000 without worrying that it's going to shut off when you're not paying attention to it. Now the app experience, as you saw, was fairly no frills. I mean, it doesn't do a whole lot other than just the basics that you probably are most interested in. So it allows you to look at the input and output, allows you to look at the state of charge, and then control the AC and DC outputs on it. Some apps are starting to give you some trending features and things like that, which is interesting, but probably not something you use all that much in a product like this. So I think the app is more than adequate for what you get. So to kind of give you just a quick wrap-up summary on my thoughts on the S2000 and the 400-watt solar panel, I think these things are an excellent combination. In terms of things that I didn't like, really the only thing that kind of bothered me, and it was a pretty minor issue, was the fan noise when you have the AC inverter on, or when it's under high temp or heavy load. The fan will kick on, and it is pretty noticeable, as you saw in that clip. It's about 68 decibels. Now it's not like super loud. It's a little louder than most of the other power stations, but if that's not something that you think would bother you at all, then it's completely a non-issue. So it really kind of depends on you. But aside from that, I really got no major complaints about this thing. It does not have wireless charging. That's something that maybe you might want, but this thing does not have that. Again, for me, not a huge deal. It's a nice to have, but not a need to have. And it really does feel like a pretty rugged build. I'm pretty happy with the build quality, I have to say. And I think what you get for the money, especially with that bundle pricing, and again, check those links down below to see if that's still available. But I think the features you're getting for the money in this power station are actually pretty compelling. So I think it's definitely worth a look and something you might want to check out if you're in the market for something in that between 1,000 and 2,000 watts. In fact, if you're looking for a 1,000-watt power station, why not look at something like this, because it's actually gives you 50% more capacity and more inverter capacity. And this is actually priced pretty close to what you'd spend on most 1,000-watt power stations. So anyway, that's all I got for you. I do hope you found some of this information helpful. And again, if you did, please give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. Consider subscribing if you're not already a subscriber. And I got more coming. I do hope to see you in the next one. Until then, have fun out there.